Are you all ready to head off the trail? I'm the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, and I'm ready to take you on a mysterious journey right now. We welcome you to Off the Trails right here on the Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel. If you guys haven't hit subscribe yet, please do. We would love to have y'all. Shout out to Bumblefoot for that awesome intro music. It's always exciting. Okay, you guys, please follow us on our social media sites on Twitter and TikTok. Are at Spaced Out Radio, and on Instagram you can find us at Spaced Out Radio Show. You guys can find me at the Cryptid Huntress all over social media except for on Twitter or X, and I'm at Huntress Jessica. You can find me there. Also, I have a website. Listen, I got like the all-in-one. I've got a website. It is thecryptidhuntress.com. You guys can find all of my shows there. I do more than just Spaced Out Radio. I have live shows over at the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube and on Rumble, actually, every Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so y'all come over there and find me. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Also, we have the Space Travelers Club here at Spaced Out Radio. If you guys would like to support what we're doing here and all of our work, I know Dave Scott would appreciate that, but that's our Patreon. It's called the Space Travelers Club. I also have my own Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress on Patreon. And shout out to all my members and all the members at Spaced Out Radios as well. Also, I wanted to let y'all know I have a sale going on in my shop. That's my Etsy shop. It's called War Woman Goods. My sale last week did great, and you guys really participated in that. I did it again this week, and because what I'm doing is I'm putting Cryptid Huntress merch in all of the packages that are going out. So if you buy something in my shop this week, you get some Cryptid Huntress merch. Okay, and I can't wait for everybody who ordered last week to get their packages. They should be coming to you guys any day now. Okay, they're in the mail. But yeah, that's War Woman Goods on Etsy. You get Cryptid Huntress merch this week, and my merch is going to run out, y'all. So you better do it this week. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for all your support. It means the world to me. It really does, and all of us here at Spaced Out Radio. Also, we have the Spaced Out Radio fan party coming up. That is going to be May 10th through the 12th in Reno, Nevada. So please go to the spacedoutradio.com website for more information on that. Okay. Well, I have a fantastic guest here at Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am going to be speaking at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this coming weekend, next Friday and Saturday, along with Ron Moorhead, Brooks Agnew, Matthew Delph, and a host of other people. And the man who is throwing that conference, Dr. John Stamey, is here in the studio tonight. And we're going to be talking about Bigfoot and up-close cryptid encounters that he's had. And they're a lot. Okay, he's got some great stories. So don't forget that right after this show, Rob G has a great show set up for you guys. I do believe Daryl Denton is going to be in the studio tonight. So he's going to talk about Dogman and Bigfoot. So y'all go and watch that after our show. Okay, before I bring up Dr. Stamey, for everybody who follows me and knows me, it follows me on my social media, y'all will know that I did lose a very good friend last night. We lost a very wonderful person in the cryptid community. My friend Bob Grumpy Wilson did pass away last night. He is a pioneer in the cryptid community, in the Bigfoot cryptid field research community. And he is sorely missed. My heart has been broken all day, y'all. It's been very, very tough for all of us, my entire team, and I know his family. We're taking this kind of hard, y'all. So I just wanted to give him some recognition tonight. This is my friend Grumpy, y'all. This is Grumpy. This is Bob, and so yeah, he was, like I said, a pioneer. He always held down our base camp. What we like to say is he just went to secure base camp, and he's waiting for us on the other side now. But he was like family. And you guys might recognize Bob from that show called Bigfoot is Real. And I got Susan. I got some of my teammates in the chat tonight. Susan's in here. Hey, Susan. And yeah, so we're going to get through the show tonight, though. Okay, we're going to get through the show. And I know we've got Bob on the other side. Okay, he's on the other side. He is part of our angel team over there now. So yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to our guest tonight. All right. I have Dr. John Stamey in the studio. And Dr. John and I have been friends for at least a couple years now. And you guys have probably seen him on my channel, The Cryptid Huntress. We have talked about everything from the Bishopville Lizardman, which he's written books about, to Project Pegasus and Bigfoot. Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking about a host of different things. Dr. John Stamey has always had an interest in the paranormal. He runs a number of Comicons as well as Bigfoot, UFO, and Lizardman festivals. He co-hosts ScaryCast, a weekly podcast on Facebook and iHeartRadio. He's published several books, including Bigfoot Explorers and Introduction to Hominology, Look Up in the Sky, Aliens, UFOs, and Anomalies, Lizardman, Bigfoot, and Friends is his other book. He is also putting together and hosting the 2024 Georgia Bigfoot Conference next weekend, where I am going to be speaking. Please help me welcome to the show my buddy, Dr. John Stamey. Hey, John.
Jessica, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Now, you know that we did lose our friend Bob, and so that has been super tough all day today. We're still trying to wrap our heads around that right now, but other than that, everything is going pretty well. Looking forward to next weekend for sure.
I am too. And by the way, I have to thank you for mentioning Project Pegasus. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite topics that you can't find the book anymore. So
really,
you know how those are, right?
Yes. Well, from what I can recall, I think you had talked to Andrew Basiago in the past, right? And he was part of that program, from what I can remember.
He was. I talked with Andy a couple of times until my connection with him was severed. I can't call him now. Just can't get through. So anyway, but yeah, that's another story. Maybe we can talk about that later. I have, for some reason, I seem to have topics that come to me. I think I get a little bit of divine guidance on them. I guess my next topic that is coming to me is the Mothman, because I love the Mothman, and I've got stories about that. We'll talk about again later, because I think tonight we want to talk about Bigfoot. Bigfoot is our hero, especially next weekend up in the Georgia mountains, where he is so prevalent, and in Rabun County, and they support the Georgia Bigfoot Conference so much. I want to say thanks to the Rabun County Chamber of Commerce and Mickey Duval and Cornbread Creek and the band, and how much they're supporting the conference, and as well as R.M. Rose Distillery. We're just glad that we're going up there again. We don't ever want to leave Rabun County with the Georgia Bigfoot Festival. It is really more of a festival than anything else. So anyway, looking forward to having you. I hear you're going to be talking about, if you don't mind me mentioning it, you're going to be talking about kind of a history of Bigfoot sightings in Rabun County, which I think is going to be spectacular.
Well, not only Rabun County, I'm going to be talking about Georgia Bigfoot sightings, wild man sightings, giant sightings. We're going to talk about all that good stuff. That's going to be part of my presentation. I think I might throw in some other cryptids out of Georgia as well, but I'm going to focus on Bigfoot next weekend. So,
but now in terms of cryptids, are you also going to throw in Matt Delph?
he is the he's the badass monster hunter. So
I just had to make that little joke. Matt's a great friend of both of ours. So yeah,
he is. He'd whoop my butt if I can't be classifying him as a cryptid. But yeah, we're gonna have a great time. We got Ron Moorhead. Ron Moorhead is a friend of the show and a friend of Spaced Out Radio, and so is Brooks Agnew. Brooks and I actually met at the Journey to Truth conference this past year, and so he's so fun to hang out with. So we're gonna have a great time next weekend. So y'all come see us.
It's funny, when I first started ScaryCast, and Maestro, the wrestler, was my co-host. We interviewed Brooks about 6 years ago. And I can't believe he still keeps coming back every couple of years. He's a really interesting guy. What people need to know about Brooks Agnew is that he's a scientist first and foremost, and he works and does consulting for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. He's very well educated. He's got a doctorate in theoretical physics, and he's really interesting, and he's also the major proponent of the hollow earth. I've learned a lot about the hollow earth from him. And so everybody come to the conference and just talk to Brooks. He's got so much. It's like Ron Moorhead, God. And Ron Moorhead's got a new book out. You got to talk to him about the new book. Then you got to talk to Brooks and talk to you and Matt, and Mark Muncy will be there, the great paranormal author. So, Sonia Thompson,
The
the
zombies.
the
Oh yeah.
Queen of Zombies, and the lady zombie from The Walking Dead, who was so famous on season 2, and she was on the front cover of Time magazine. We love Sonia. You can't have the Georgia Bigfoot Conference without Sonia Thompson.
That's right. That's right. It's always a really good time. We have a great crowd, and it's something fun to do up in an area that is full of Bigfoot activity, John. Okay, and I can speak from experience because I've had my most profound Bigfoot experiences around that area. I can't give my exact locations away. Okay, but it was in that area up in northeast Georgia. Now, you've had your own experiences before, and I don't know when you started having Bigfoot experiences, but maybe we could talk about that a little bit tonight.
Well, I tell you what, I've got 2 experiences I would like to share with everybody. And as I tell people, these happened in the northeast Georgia mountains, and straight up the top. I mean, I believe we were as close to the highest point in Georgia as we could get. I was visiting a friend of mine who has an Airbnb. He no longer has it. He's too busy with his kids and wife and farming and being a real nature lover and doing a lot of great conservative, cons, conservative things in terms of conserving the environment. And so what happened was I went there. I saw on Facebook it was his birthday. So I said, I'm going to meet with the chamber at about 3 o'clock. And for some reason I was early. So I said, well, I'm going to go up and say hello to him. So I went up there, and it was kind of a cold, rainy day, but it was sometimes that's a beautiful time in North Georgia. The cold,
Mhm.
rainy days, it's just beautiful, quiet, and peaceful when you're up there in the woods. And you go down a 1-lane dirt road to his house. And I knocked on the door. He said, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, listen, it's your birthday. I thought I'd surprise you." And so he said, "Thanks." I met a couple of his friends who had done the same thing. We talked for a little bit. I said, "You know what? I've got to go see Linda at the Chamber of Commerce about the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to go up to your cabin and just hang out there because it's so beautiful and peaceful." He said, "Sure, do that." I said, "And I'll just see myself out and go on down to the chamber." So I went up there, and we got the 1-lane dirt road. You can hear the drops of rain coming down on the leaves. It's just a perfect day for those of us that love North Georgia. And so what happened was I heard a movement. Okay, I'm standing here. I'm standing right next to the 1-lane dirt road, and about 50, 75 feet away, I heard some noise, like something going on, something moving around. And I looked, and I saw a very large piece of bark. It was like maybe 3 feet by 4 feet. It was huge. And
Wow.
I saw that thing get launched up in the air. It cleared a 50-foot pine tree and came crashing down. It was really loud. And I realized all of a sudden, I'm just going to say, hey, because that was a Bigfoot. Now I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to tell you how smart Bigfoot is. If Bigfoot had come walking down that 1-lane road, Jessica, I would have had a heart attack. I'm sorry. I mean, in the middle of the day, Bigfoot walking down there, hey, how you doing, John? It would have terrified me. But Bigfoot knew exactly what to do to say hello without leaving me afraid or anything. And I waved. I said, hey, it's good to see you. And I knew I'd done the right thing. Now, I don't know any human being that can launch a piece of bark that big up into the air and clear a 50-foot pine tree. Do you, Jessica?
A 50-foot pine tree, that's pretty high. So,
It is, and they
no. I
extremely high right around his house. And just so anyway, that was kind of a wake-up call for me. As to I know Bigfoot's very smart, but that just tells me Bigfoot just wanted me to know he was there, because there are 2 clans of Bigfoot near this location, and they know me. They have played tricks on me. they have done some interesting things. And now I'm going to tell the most interesting story. Normally, when I get to his location, I still stay in his house when I go down there because it's very nice. He's got an extra room with a bathroom right off of it, and so I can stay there. I pay him a little bit of money for that, and it's nice to see him and his family. And then just go up there, be myself, get ready for the next day. So anyway, I got to the cabin about 11 o'clock that night because I had been up in Franklin. I've always had a fascination for Franklin, the gemstones, the people, and the location. And I might be announcing something going on in Franklin here pretty soon. In fact, probably we'll be announcing it next weekend at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. So I was up in Franklin and I called my buddy. I said, listen, I'm going to be late. I'm up in Franklin. I'm talking to people. Franklin, so that people know, it's about 30 miles north of Clayton, down up Highway 441.
Can I interject real quick? Because I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
Franklin actually, I don't know if it's Franklin or Cleveland, is where they have the Babyland General, where the Cabbage Patch Kids are, right? The home of the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
basically
'Cause
Cleveland,
we
then,
we talk about that on my channel sometimes with the Cabbage Patch Kids, and it has something to do with the human reset and stuff. So I don't know. Y'all go check out my Cabbage Patch shows. There's some significance with that area in the Cabbage Patch Kids. Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. John. Go ahead.
that's okay. I'm going to write that down.
Yes.
I
I'll have
take
to.
notes when I talk,
Uh-huh.
Patch,
Me
and
too. Cabbage Patch Kids. Yeah, the human resets and the Cabbage Patch cards. There's cards from the 1800s showing. I guess that's what they base the Cabbage Patch Kids off of, that are based up in Cleveland and Franklin area. I guess
right.
something to look into.
Because there's a Cleveland, South Carolina, which has a
Mhm.
marvelous old general store where they serve breakfast. And then there's a Cleveland, North Carolina, where all this is. So that's great. Then of course there's Cleveland, Ohio, kind of a big place. But anyway, getting back to that, so I called my buddy. I said I'm gonna be coming in late, and so I got in. And the first thing I always do, the lights were on in his house, and so I just walked down the stairs. Not well, the path that functions as the stairs. I went into, knocked on the door, went in his house. Everybody was still awake. They were waiting up to see me and say hello, which was very kind of them. And we talked a little bit. So I walked out. I walked up to my car, got my things, went into the cabin, and sat down. And I said, "Wow, what a long day! Driving 7 hours from Myrtle Beach to Franklin, and then about 45 minutes down that mountain in the dark. You got to be careful about driving in the dark up there. Really got to watch those roads." So anyway, I got there. I poured me a nice drink, and I sat there on the futon. I had the ceiling fan going. It was a nice, relaxing moment. And I had the phone there. I had my stuff, your stuff. And so all of a sudden, I realized I didn't hear any wood sounds, no crickets, no nothing. It was dead silent. And I said, wonder what's going to happen. Because there's only one thing that happens when the woods go silent. And what do you know what that is? I bet you know what that
Yes.
is.
Okay, it actually happened to me and Robbie from the DAX Machina podcast. He was at our conference last year, Dr. John. He and I had gone Bigfooting the night before the big conference. And we were in a situation, we got in a predicament. We put ourselves in the predicament, actually. We went to one of the spots that I like to go Bigfooting up there. And we had that happen where we were having to scream over each other from all of when we were talking, because all the bugs that were making noise. And then all of a sudden the bugs went silent and we were still screaming over each other. And we were surrounded by Sasquatch that night. We actually had to beeline it back to the truck because we were surrounded, and we didn't really feel safe at that point, because there were at least 3 Bigfoot surrounding us.
Well, now I tell you what, if you were up at Land Between the Lakes, you wouldn't know if it was Sasquatch or you wouldn't know if it was Dogman,
That's
but you
right.
know that something. So anyway, it was just
Something.
very quiet, and I said, "What is going on?" And then all of a sudden, this cabin is about 20 feet by 30 feet. He built it, and it's on some cinder blocks. It's fairly heavy, and all of a sudden, I heard a shuffling of some leaves to the left side of the cabin, and all of a sudden, the cabin got hit by something so hard the cabin moved. I mean, it was hit really hard. And
Ooh.
I said, oh my God, is this one of these North Georgia mountain earthquakes? Then it got hit again.
Ooh.
And then I heard footsteps moving from the left side of the middle of the left side of the cabin to the corner and then toward the front door. Now, what I tell people is that the human step is somewhere between 8 to 14 inches long. Depends on how tall you are. So you're going boom, 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 something of that pace if it's a human walking. But when you hear something walking that goes, you've got a footstep of about 2 to 3 feet. There's only one entity that I know that has a 2 to 3 foot long stride.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I said, "Oh my God, that door! It's no door. He has a rubber tie that you tie, and that's what closes the door." And I
Oh
mean,
no.
a 4-year-old running hard could get through that, could get through his rubber tie. It's just like a big rubber band. And I said, "Oh my God, what is going to happen to me?
You're
Why?"
toast.
And the first thing I thought was, "Why me? Why tonight?" So the footsteps stopped right in front of the door. I said, "Okay, well, I know one thing. If Bigfoot wanted to come in, Bigfoot could come right in." And Bigfoot didn't want to come in. Bigfoot something, and I think it was Bigfoot, stopped. So what I did was I quietly poured myself another drink. I cut the lights and the fan off and sat there. It was about 11:30, and then I guess I kind of passed out. I went to sleep, and I woke up about 3:30, and all of a sudden there were the crickets were chirping. Everything was back to normal. But I said, I'm not stepping outside of this place until 7 o'clock when the sun's up. I'm just not. And I looked down at my phone and it said 7%. I said, oh gosh, all I know is I've got these were, this was probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And those older cell phones, when they went down to 7%, you had one call left, right, Jessica?
Yes. You didn't have a charger with you, huh? No
My
charger.
charger was in my car. Well, I was not going to get my charger.
I don't blame
So
you.
I just laid back and went to sleep and woke up right at 7 o'clock. And I called a friend of mine who is experienced with Bigfoot. And I said, at 7 o'clock, when you call someone at 7 o'clock, it's usually something important, right? So
Right.
if I call you at 7 o'clock, you'll know to
It's an
answer.
emergency. Yeah. Something I
Right.
panic if my phone rings that early because something happened. Oh
Right.
yeah.
And so I said, hello. And I was greeted with a laugh. And my friend said, wow, I heard you had an experience with Bigfoot last night. Kind of made me mad because
Because
she
they
was
knew.
about 4.5 hours from me. I said, yeah, what did you hear? Well, they were out hunting and they had some of the young ones out there and they wanted to make sure that you stayed in the house. I said, well, they absolutely made sure I stayed in the house. And she laughed again. Now, later in the day, I
Wait, now,
decided,
wait, you got to explain that, Dr. John. Who called you? Was it Robin McRae? Because I know she has a psychic connection to
no,
Bigfoot.
I
So
called her. I called
okay,
her. This
okay.
is before I knew you. I might call you now. So anyway, here's what I did later that day. I said, okay, big guy, I bet I can run into the side of that cabin and I bet you I can make a big sound and make it move. So I got about 10 feet from it, ran as hard as I could into that cabin. And guess what? All I did was hurt my shoulder. I didn't move that cabin. There was no big sound or nothing. I said, oh my God, that would take something about 1,200 pounds to make that sound. So I said, I know what that was. I know it was Bigfoot. So,
Wow.
but I was really scared. I'm gonna tell you something, Jessica. that is one of the 2 times in my life I was so scared I didn't know what to do.
I
And so
bet.
when I don't know what to do, I just keep my mouth shut.
Oh
Because
man.
I talk too much anyway. But I
Well,
kept
I
my
would have
mouth
been
shut.
terrified if I were you, John. I want to thank Amy. I see Amy's got to go somewhere tonight. Thank you so much for that super sticker, Amy. We appreciate you so much here. I appreciate you, girl. Thank you. Yeah. So you went out and did some experimentation where you went out there and hit the cabin to see if it would shake it, like you had that experience the night before. I
And
mean,
all I
that
did
would
is
have had to have been pretty scary.
I just hurt my shoulder.
You hurt your shoulder. Now, what did the homeowners say about this? Had they had uh, experiences with Bigfoot before this happened to you?
No. Well,
No.
no, but his dogs, he has one of these doors that the dogs can come in and out of. And it was very strange. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that because that morning I walked down there about 7:30, run take a shower because that's about the time they're up. And I noticed when I walked inside, his dogs would normally attack me and lick me and all this stuff, because they sleep right in his bedroom, but they didn't come out. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "Oh, we're just getting up." I said, "What's wrong with the dogs?" He said, "They're here. They're still asleep." Now, dogs are not going to still stay asleep when there's an open door and somebody walks into the house. They're not going to lay there. And Sergeant, the older dog, came walking out and looked like he'd been hit. He actually looked like he'd been zapped.
Oh no.
And the other ones came out, and I mean, I realized that when the woods went silent, the dogs didn't come up like they had before.
Okay.
So that that told me that something was going on. Something kept the dogs from coming outside and coming up to the little cabin. So it was just a real experience. I knew what I'd gone through. And now, a lot of people will say, no, you didn't. It was all your imagination. It was a raccoon or something that ran into the cabin. No, it wasn't. That's like this new Arrow report about UFOs says there's no such thing as a UFO. No
Do you
evidence.
believe that? What do you think about that report?
And I'm going to have copies of that for our speakers because that's going to lead us into the World UFO Conference that we're hosting on June 29th. More about that. And as I told you earlier, you're invited and we're going to have fun there. But the point is, please don't tell me that there's no such thing as a Bigfoot out in the woods. I've got 8 or 9 experiences, one of them terrifying. And I mean, I know what was out there and I was scared. So, and I've had experiences with other cryptids. And I've had one experience with one that saved my life. And that I believe to be the Mothman. The Mothman is not the harbinger of doom. The Mothman is there to save you and alert you when something's going on. And we're lucky to have the Mothman. And I think John Keel felt the same way. I don't think the people of Point Pleasant, West Virginia did. I think they were too afraid of the Mothman. But the Mothman's there to warn you. You better watch out in Chicago. One of these days, something bad's going to happen. There are too many sightings of the Mothman. He's too prevalent. So just like he
Mhm.
was in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. In fact, Point Pleasant, he saved the economy of the town. What a great entity! What a great cryptid to save the town in many many ways.
I think
And
a lot of cryptids actually do that when they have a cryptid sighting, just like the Bishopville Lizardman. They have that. Not to say that he saved the town, but they do have that festival every year, and I do believe that these festivals bring a lot of commerce into these towns, just like in Clayton, where we're going to be next weekend, or Dillard, up in Northeast Georgia. I think it
well,
really helps the economies to have
yeah,
to actually highlight what's going on up there instead of hiding it.
I mean Clayton and Dillard are 8 miles apart. It's the same. It's the same
Yeah.
area. And I know the chamber and the Economic Development Commission like it that weekend we fill up all the hotel rooms. We fill them up in a time in March where they're not filled. So that's a positive thing. It gives Rabun County something to be identified with, which I think is great. That they love Bigfoot up there. Some counties might not like Bigfoot. Some counties might not like Lizard Man, but Rabun County likes Bigfoot, and that's a great thing. RM Rose Distillery is getting
Yeah.
ready to put up a sign tomorrow. It's about 10 feet tall. It has a picture of a Bigfoot print, and people can come up and take pictures of themselves right next to it. Jessica, you and I will take a picture next to that sign.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah. We're going to do that. What I find is that when a town and a community really embraces these sightings, it's so beneficial. I mean, there's a place where I like to go Bigfooting occasionally out in Alabama. It's called Cheaha State Park. And that whole park has really embraced the Bigfoot aspect of the sightings that they have around there. When you go into the actual station where you go sign in, if you're going to go camping there, it's wall to wall Bigfoot merchandise. I mean, magnets, plushies, t-shirts, bottle openers, koozies. I'm the koozie queen. I love a good koozie, especially with Bigfoot on it. But yeah, we left there with stickers and koozies and all sorts of stuff after visiting Cheaha State Park because they really embraced it there instead of hiding it and acting like there's no Bigfoots out there. And speaking of amazing stuff going on here, Susan Kano, thank you so much for that super sticker. We appreciate you here, Space Out Radio. So thank you. But yeah, so I'm all for a town embracing their local cryptids, John. Big time.
I mean, who else are you going to embrace? You're not going to embrace Christopher Columbus. He didn't come down here to Bishopville or Clayton, did he?
Probably not. I don't know.
And now
He's not a cryptid.
Now may I share another story with you? We hadn't even talked about this. But I have a friend. Is that okay, Jessica?
Yes, please. I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
I've got a friend named Doctor, and I will leave his name out of this. I'll ask him if it's okay if I tell his name, but he's a good friend of mine. He's a doctor up in Rabun County. And he said, I was talking with him. I met him at the library because I don't have an office there yet. I'll have to have an office in Clayton because I just love the town. So anyway, I walked there. I saw him. I sat down. He handed me a hot dog. He said, I got one too. So he bought me a hot dog so we could sit there, talk, and have lunch. And believe me, the librarians didn't complain about us having food in the library. He's like one of the leading citizens of that town. So he said, have I ever told you where the UFO landed? I said, no. Where did it land? Well, let me tell you. You know Lake Rabun Road? I said, yeah. When you go down to Lakemont, you go straight at the fork, and that's Lake Rabun Road. It goes around the lake, and then it comes back around on the other side of Lakemont. He said, yeah, you know it. Well, about a mile in, there's a lot, and it's got kind of a valley, a little valley in it, and it's covered with kudzu. That's where the UFO landed in 1958. I said, really? I've never heard this story. Now I've got this written down. It's going to be in my next book. And he said, John, that's back when not everybody had a car in Rabun County. And a lot of people used horse and wagon. And Lake Rabun Road was a dirt road. Okay. Because Lake Rabun Road is on Lake Rabun, which is owned by Georgia Power. And so about all they had done so far in 58, that's 65 years ago, about all they had managed to do was make a dirt road. So he said, there was this old farmer, and he came into town and he told the sheriff, the sheriff is in Clayton, Georgia, said he told the sheriff that there was something strange out there. And so the sheriff got in his wagon. He took the sheriff out there, and there was a UFO. Now, what did the sheriff do? They came back in. They went and checked with the local newspaper. They took another trip out there and took pictures. The pictures have mysteriously vanished. You can imagine that.
Of course.
The people heard about this UFO there. It was apparently there for 3 days. And on the fourth morning, the farmer went out to check on it, and it was gone. It had vanished.
Wow.
It was shaped. It was silver. Traditional UFO. I don't know, if they have models like cars. I don't know what model it was, but it was, the old saucer shaped UFO.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was a UFO there. Now, it gets even better because the doctor he's good friends with everybody in the county. And he was good friends with the people that owned the house across the street. So he and his boys were able to use that house's dock on Lake Raven, okay? And they would come out there with their little boat on top of his car. They'd put it in the water, and he and his two boys would go out paddling in Lake Raven, have a good time, and come back and take it out. Well, it was later that summer, and they put their boat in the water. They went out going around. They came back in. They're standing on the dock, and all of a sudden, a UFO comes out of the water and shoots straight up into the sky.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm not going to lie.
Well, so what I'm saying is, this is
so glad.
This is
I've experienced UFOs up there, by the way. So we've got to finish your story, and then I got to tell you about some of my experiences with UFOs in the same area. I'm so excited to hear this.
The point is, now that was, let's see, his boys were about 14. Hold on, let me calculate.
Well, they were in horses and buggies, so that's been a while, huh?
45 minus 30. So his son, so that would have been about 30 years ago. So what year was that? That was about 1995 is when that happened. And that's the way it is. And that doctor is of sound mind and body. And you better believe it because he's a member of the American Medical Association. In fact, he's a former president of the Georgia Medical Association. He's not a man to be discounted lightly. And it was just very, very, very interesting what he had to say. And he said, don't tell anybody my name ever, but you can tell the story. I said, I'm going to put it in a book one day. And so I've got it written, and I'm going to put it in my next book about things in Raven County.
Okay, so John, so you said that this lake is owned by the Georgia Power Company. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
here's what they do. They lease land on Lake Raven for people to build houses. They don't own the land. They make a monthly payment to Georgia Power, but they put their houses on there, and there are houses all the way around Lake Raven. They're $1 million homes. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Wow. Okay. Well, one of my best friends, her family has a house on Lake Burton. I know it's beautiful up there. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. And so, yeah, actually, Susan, thank you for that super sticker. Thank you so much. Susan's on my Bigfoot team, by the way. Okay, and she and I and Grumpy, who just passed away this weekend, all of our team, we have spent some time up in that area. Okay, and we have all had UFO experiences in that area. Okay, I can't give specifics, but I can say it was in that area. And so, yeah, the fact that we've got UFOs, a sighting by a reputable person who's part of the medical association and an upstanding citizen here, saying that he saw a UFO come out of that lake. Okay, that's a big deal because where is it going? And what's underneath that water? What's going on? You know, I think that's a good question for Brooks Agnew this weekend. He talks about inner Earth. Okay, and I think that there's got to be a connection, don't you think?
Maybe. We'll ask Brooks next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's next weekend now. Right?
Next weekend.
It's Sunday night, so it would be next week.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something that we need to look into because I hear a lot about these. They're called USOs. Okay, not. I guess that makes it a USO, not a UFO, even though it's flying too. But if it's going into a lake, we hear a lot of these cases, especially when it comes to sightings of Bigfoot and sightings of Dogman and all these different cryptids. And a lot of these are in national parks or government-owned, federal-owned land. And they have lakes there, and there are UFO sightings going in and out of these lakes on federal land. I don't know. It's odd. Very odd, but super important. We need to start keeping track of all these UFOs coming out of water and going into the water. That's something else to add to our list there. But that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
I interviewed Preston, and I can't remember his last name. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. He wrote the book USOs. He's an
Dennett.
accountant.
Preston Dennett?
Yeah. I interviewed him about 5 years ago. He's an accountant out in California. Really great interview. I need to get up with him and try. Have you ever interviewed Preston?
I have not. I have not yet. But he's written. But that's the same person you're talking about. He's written books on schoolyard UFOs, where UFOs have landed in schoolyards throughout history and had communication with the children. He's probably written books on all sorts of stuff, but that's what I'm familiar with him in his writings.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He was a great interview. I just
Yeah.
need to get back in. Still got his number, so I'll give him
Yeah.
a call.
Yeah.
And you and I can interview him together. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've got Bigfoots, you had Bigfoot encounters, Mothman encounters. Now you are super interested in the lizard man of Scapewar Swamp, or the Bishopville lizard man, and you have written books on that. How did you become interested in that? Have you had a lizard man sighting?
No, but I'll tell you the story. It's kind of funny. I had just done my first Bigfoot conference, and it was called Bigfoot Day, and it was up at Bays Mountain Park in Kingsport, Tennessee. And it was on the 50th anniversary, so it would have been 2017. And I was all excited about cryptids. I was driving down Interstate 20. You know, you go up there, you take 26 down to 20 in Columbia, and then you drive on. And I drove past the sign for Bishopville. I said, oh my God, there's the lizard man. I mean, because I know that the lizard man is associated with Bishopville. And I turned because I wanted to get off I almost had a wreck. I almost clipped somebody, but I didn't care. So went down there. It was on a Monday. And I went into town. I went and tried to find the Chamber of Commerce. And of course, they were closed. A lot of chambers of commerce in small towns close on Monday because they're probably not working on the weekend doing local events. So I said, I need to talk. I'm going to have to call these people tomorrow and set up an appointment. So I did. And I can't remember the lady's name. That was 7 years ago. And I called her. I said, this is John Stamey. I just ran the Tennessee Bigfoot Conference. Do you like Lizard Man? She said, I'll never forget it. We love Lizard Man. So she said, yeah, please come, let's talk. So I did later that week. So first thing she did, she gave me a couple of shirts, old shirts from during the period when they had the Lizard Man sightings in 88 and 89. And I said, let's do a festival. She said, well, that'd be a great thing. So we proceeded on and we did it. In fact, there's a write-up about the Lizard Man Festival, the first one in Smithsonian Magazine. And it's very interesting that we had an author come there, and we had a lot of fun at that first one. It was great. We had lizard juice, which was, well, what was it? It was Sprite and green Hawaiian punch. It was
Oh,
great. We had
man.
fun
I have,
with
I have
that.
a question for you, John. What do you think Lizard Man is? Where did Lizard Man come from, first of all? Why is he here? And what is his origin? Do you think that he's from inner Earth? Do you think he's extraterrestrial? Do you think he's been here for a while? What is your opinion on the origins of Lizard Man?
I have two opinions. One is I absolutely don't know.
Okay,
And then
nobody
the other
does.
one is, well, Bishopville's right next to Shaw Air Force Base. Pick your story.
Okay, I can read between the lines. I
Great.
know.
Yeah. So it's your story. And I know there is one story of Lizard Man actually attacking humans. And that's in my book, Look Up in the Sky. And I don't really want to go into that because it's a bad story. It's a 17 and 8-year-old, those two boys from Lake Norman in the Charlotte area. And I feel very bad for their families. They have a memorial there on the highway near
Oh,
exit 96, I believe, on
wait,
Interstate 20.
wait, what happened? I'm sorry. Is this in regards to Lizard Man?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. I didn't know that something had happened.
Well, I've got I've got the story in the book, but
Oh,
I've got some more investigation because I have a lead on how to find the coroner. and I need to find the coroner. And let's just leave it at that. I'll break the story here on Spaced Out Radio if you want me to when I get
Yeah.
the last piece of the puzzle. That's because it's a troubling story, and it's very unfortunate that these two boys died. And everybody in Camden, this is right outside of Camden, everybody in Camden knew it was the Lizard Man. They did, and it happened in about 96, 97. And so we'll leave it at that if it's all right. And I'll come back when I have the last piece of the puzzle, because
Okay.
I would like to put everything to bed. And it might be a very disquieting sleep when I put it all to bed.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay, well, now you've got me on the edge of my seat. Okay, so just for a quick recap, and I want to thank Maureen. Thank you for that super sticker. We appreciate that so much. I appreciate that. Thank you from you and Gus. Thank you so much. Okay, so for the audience, if you're not familiar with the Bishopville Lizardman, this is, I think his name's Christopher Davis. Is that right, John?
That's Christopher Davis was the young man who first had an experience. Well, who second had an experience with the Lizard Man. The first was a pilot who saw the Lizard Man about 3 weeks earlier and did not report it to Sheriff Liston Truesdale. But Christopher Davis, and I love the skeptics because they completely get it wrong. They say, what was he doing out at 2 a.m? Was he drunk? Was he high? Was he going out to see some girl? No, because he worked at the McDonald's on Highway 15 and Interstate 20. And that is an all-night McDonald's because at one point in time, that was the busiest McDonald's on Interstate 20. It was the only place you could get anything to eat 24 hours a day. And there were times when it got so busy, they had to ask employees to work late. Now, I asked about, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, I went and saw the manager. I said, y'all, is it still so busy sometimes that you have to ask employees to work late? Yes, they have to help clean up because we have to do breakfast. We got to get the place cleaned up. I mean, we'll have a line out the door. So anyway, and I said, isn't it true that you sometimes pay your employees in food? Oh yes, because we'll make lots of food and then we won't sell it. So we'll just give them lots of food, like lots of Big Macs, because that's really what we make a lot of. And so Christopher Davis that night had a whole bunch of Big Macs in his car, and he took them home
I
ultimately.
love Big Macs. Big Macs were my jam back in the day. I used to love Big Macs.
And I'll
Yeah.
pay 50 cents extra for more Big Mac sauce. But
For that sauce, that's right.
that's neither here nor there. But he was out there near the butterbean shed, and he saw something come walking toward him. He'd had a flat tire,
Oh no.
and he was trying to fix it. And he got the tire halfway put on, like a couple of the bolts, but he still had one or two more. And he saw something coming at him and had red eyes, and it was tall, and he got the heck out of there. But this thing ran and caught up to him and jumped on top of his car. And that's the first real sighting of the Lizard Man. So he and his father went to see the sheriff the next day. His father knew it had to be fake. The sheriff listened because the sheriff was trained by the FBI, and he said, if somebody has any kind of experience in my county, I have to listen to it, because how would I feel if somehow 2 or 3 kids got killed and I didn't listen to somebody with a story? I would be, I'd be run out of town. So Sheriff Truesdale had good training. And so that's the first story of the Lizard Man. I know that very well because I've got a book called The Lizard Man Companion. It's available on Amazon on Kindle. You can get it, and it has copies. It has transcriptions of all 14 of the newspaper stories in the Lee County Observer. And so they were very kind to let me put them in there. That's the only place you can find them, unless you go into the office, take your cell phone camera and copy them and take pictures of it. And then you can't get all the stories because they're in this big bound book. Then you have to take pictures right along that crease where you can barely read it. And it took me days going through those to get all the words right, but I did. I'm very happy. That's an important historical document about the lizard man. There were like 14 sightings. And
14.
don't tell me that people didn't see something. 2 of them were faked, and they were acknowledged as faked by the people that did them. Well, Christopher
Well,
Davis doesn't
there
look like it was fake.
I don't think his was fake either. I believe it. I believe that he did get attacked by something. As a matter of fact, I remote viewed that. That was a blind remote viewing target that I was given a while back, and there definitely was something did happen, and I do believe it had something to do with potentially what we would consider to be a reptilian, or ultra. I'm going to say ultra terrestrial. Was what was in that data. But there were actually houses. A couple went outside one morning, and I think it was a minivan, was completely torn to shreds. It looked like something, maybe the lizard man had been trying to chase a cat under the hood or something.
Well, right. It was what was torn, if I remember correctly, what was torn up was the hood and the radiator area. That's
Yeah.
what I heard, or what
Oh,
I
yeah.
read in the newspaper story. And it's very funny. Those files are gone. Did you know that?
No,
The lizard man
everything
files,
just disappeared.
they did. And I'm
Convenient.
pleased to say that Lyle Blackburn, who is, I'm sure he's your friend, he's my friend too. Lyle Blackburn actually scanned most of those police reports. So they do exist.
So they do exist. So that's good. Well, that's
Most of them.
good.
Not all the way, but they do. And then when I tried to get information on the death of Christopher, he died in Sumter County. Someone shot him. They said it was part of a drug, something or other. And they gave me a quote of
Yeah.
$10,000 to go back in the archives and find the story of what happened under FOIA. So under FOIA, it was going to cost me $10,000 to get the information about the death of Christopher Davis. Now, come on. That's not fair. Does it sound like someone is hiding something? It does to me.
Yeah. Well, okay. This is reminding me of like the David Paulides research that he did when he was looking for all the reports on the missing people from all the national parks from our government. Like they didn't keep files on them. They were going to charge them $1 million or something for all that information. So, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like maybe they don't want us to know. Okay, maybe not.
Sounds like Sumter County.
It does. It does. Well, John, we have come to the end of the hour, believe it or not. This has gone by so fast. And gosh, we could talk all night about these topics. You are such a wealth of knowledge. And I really appreciate you being here tonight. Please tell the audience about where they can find your books, ScaryCast, and about the conference next weekend.
Okay, it's real easy. You can find ScaryCast at ScaryCast.com. You can go to the GeorgiaBigfootConference.com site, and it will take you to the location where you can buy tickets. It's very simple. GeorgiaBigfootConference.com and ScaryCast.com. Otherwise, shoot me a message. I'm always .org. The .com actually redirects to the .org, and so either one works. So anyway, thank you, Jessica. It's been a lot of fun. I always enjoy being on your show.
Well, it's always fun. And you guys, please go to ScaryCast as well. That's on iHeartRadio and on Facebook. Okay.
And just go to iHeartRadio and type in ScaryCast. We've been on there about 6 weeks. So you'll see 5 or 6 episodes and more every week. We've got Ryan Tremblay tomorrow night, the head of Monster Radio. He is our guest tomorrow night. Be sure to check that out. It'll be up by Tuesday morning on iHeartRadio.
Oh yeah, I just talked to Ryan last week. He's awesome, and he's really knowledgeable on the Wendigo and skinwalkers and just about every cryptid. I love it. Also, before we go, you got to talk about your World UFO Conference as well, because that's coming up this year.
Okay. One of my best friends is John LeMay. He's a very prolific paranormal author and UFO author, and so a couple of years ago, I found out about World UFO Day. What is that? That's July the 2nd, and it celebrates the July the 2nd, 1947 crash of the UFO in Roswell. So I said, you know what? The city of Clayton has been after me to hold a UFO conference down there in Clayton. So why not? Let me see if I can register GeorgiaUFOconference.com. I couldn't. But little did I know I already owned the domain names. That's another story. So anyway, I said, all right, if there's World UFO Day, let me see if I can register World UFO Conference. I said, oh, somebody's got it. No, they didn't. So that's why we're having World UFO Conference. They've already put out information on it, put out a poster, people going crazy over it. So
I'm going to be there.
I know I'll have posters. And I'll give you a couple up at Georgia Bigfoot Conference. Dillard, Georgia. 16th and 15th of March, Georgia Bigfoot Conference, 7th annual. Be there or be square.
Yes, I'll be there. So I will see you next weekend, Dr. John. Thank you again so much for being here. Please come back and see us. You promise?
I will. Thank you very much. And bye to all of your great fans. I'll hope to see you again soon.
Okay, thank you, John. I'll see you next weekend. Thank you. Okay,
bye-bye.
See ya. All right, y'all. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. And CS, thank you so much for that super sticker. I saw you in there. I'm not going to leave tonight without saying thank you for that. And thank you to everybody who's in here tonight. I see all your comments and everything. Y'all keep going. I love it. And yeah, thank y'all so much for all your love and support. And for being here tonight. I want to thank all my moderators for being here. You guys, please come see me this week over on my channel. That's the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. Please subscribe. And yeah, I'll be there Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and also Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay, with a remote viewing show for y'all. Barry's got me working some crazy targets right now, and so I can guarantee you it's going to be a good time. So yeah, and I would thank you for all your love and support and your condolences in regards to Bob Grumpy. One of my best friends, the head of my team, the North Georgia Cryptid Field Researchers. It's been a sad weekend, y'all, but we're making it through it, and Bob's always here with us. Okay, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for all your super stickers, super chats, and I'll see y'all next week. Y'all, please go over to see Rob G at After Hours with Daryl Denton tonight. You guys have a wonderful week. And I will see y'all at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference next weekend. I'll see y'all later. Bye, y'all.